going to talk about the roles involved in the PV process, okay? Physical verification or PV process. Then the typical questions of what happens next, or in terms of different sequence of events. You'll see that in the physical verification process, we're going to work with an Excel template. This template is really important to first understand, get familiar with, understand how you're feeling, and you key in the information, understand the format of what you are keying in. So because it's like a minefield sometimes, not only for this template, but in general terms, I would say, and that's from my own experience, and I'm just talking, my own experience. Templates in Umoja, it's a minefield. You just generate a file with a small dot in a particular field in a cell, and the whole thing crashes, and then you have to redo it again. So we will take it smoothly, and we will go step by step. Sorry. And then I'm asking 3 questions from true or false, whether the physical verification process will trigger several other processes, right, for property management, like write-off, like updating the equipment master record, or like an addition to a stock process, as we saw the other day with Brian, right? So this is the idea to go through after this session. Again, I hope it was clear, this set of questions. And now I'm going to go through just very small presentation, and I'd like to just set the objectives of today's session as per the physical verification process, because once we finish the PV process, then we will change to the equipment mass upload, which it's a process itself that may be linked or not to the PV process, because you can update equipment master records without having a previous physical verification process, right? So, but in today's session, we're going to link both, let's say, process. First, we're going to go through a physical verification of a set of 5 equipments, and then we will massively enrich those equipments after we finished with the PV process. So today's objective only for the PV process first, it's to extract the equipment list report. First, we have to know which type of equipment, how many number of pieces of equipment are subject to be physically verified, and we have to know how to extract that report. We will have to select a proper layout for that, and you'll see why. And then we will have to understand how to capture the physical verification results against each equipment record. We will use the template in order to, let's say, identify the results of the process. But that doesn't mean that you have another cheat sheet or some other template that you're using in the mission in order to capture those results. But eventually, those results will have to be included in the template in order to be uploaded into the system. Okay. Then in the template, we're going to identify which are the discrepancies, and eventually, after these discrepancies are resolved, then the SD11, which is the local equipment master data maintainer, will have to upload the results of the research or the investigation of all those discrepancies found by the PV process, because the whole process, it's like broken down into 2 main, if I may say, chunks. The first chunk is to conduct the physical verification process, see what's there, see which equipment belongs to the user accountable, see where those pieces of equipment are located in a functional location per se, the quality and how those equipments looks like in terms of I'd say, usage and quality and status, right? And once that's done, and we have results of that physical verification, then some other person, which will be the SD11, will have to take action to the equipment master records in order to upload the information retrieved from the PV process. And this SD11 belongs to a particular authorization group, meaning that we don't have an SD11 that will cover all the equipment in, for example, Brindisi, or all the equipment in UNAMID. The SD11s they do have a scope of responsibility based on his or her authorization group. Okay, so all the equipments, they belong to a particular authorization group, and the SD11 will have to take action if they do have to take action to those pieces of equipment under his or her authorization group. Another story is the SD10, which is the global equipment data maintainer, which is a wider access, and this person will even be able to create equipment master records from the scratch, right? And that's usually applicable when we are adding to a stock a new pieces of equipment that you may find, and it was not even actually in the inventory before. For some reason, I don't know, a vehicle shows up, we don't have any record, there is no goods received, only PO related to that vehicle. You know, it's like showing up in the middle of the mission. So if we're adding into our stock, into our inventory, we will have to create an equipment master record, and it will be the SD10 doing that. This case is the SD11, which is the local equipment data maintainer, the one enriching the equipment master records. And as we have been discussing, I think almost every day, at the end of the day, you know, having a series of housekeeping rules for the equipment master record is of utmost importance. Really affects the user status. If you don't have a proper strategy in place in order to update your user status, in order to update the equipment master record of whatever happens to that piece of equipment, who is the BP involved, where it's located, information about the manufacturer data, which is the barcode, which is the manufacturer serial number. If you have all your pieces of equipment, you know, up to date, down the road, regardless whether we are going to go through a liquidation process or any other process, down the road you have less and less problems. So starting from the enrichment after goods received, the more actions that you are taking on the equipment master records, and the more clarity and information that you have under that data shell, let's say, the better down the road in every single process related to property management. So that's really, really important, and that's one of the main lessons learned, not from this training, but in general, since we started with the GDP process, Galileo the commissioning process or project almost 3 years ago. So SD11, it's the one enriching, and it will be the SD08, which is the physical verification planner, the one doing all this extracting of the LVIST equipment report, and, you know, in charge of the strategy of the physical verification process. So in a nutshell, this is what we're going to talk about. There is an initial step, which is to generate the list for physical verification. So this is a report that we will launch, and we'll have information on the serial numbers, the technical identifier number, the functional location, the status of the equipment, and the person responsible for each single piece of equipment. Once we have our list of physical verification, the piece of equipment, and we know that we have to go through every single piece and check where they are located, who is using it, and, you know, in general terms, how the usage and the quality of that piece of equipment. Once we have that list, then we conduct the physical verification exercise. And for example, that may take time, right? Because I do remember that some of you from Brindisi are coming to Valencia, coming to the base, and you guys check our equipment and the records in terms of equipment from throughout the base for 1 week or 2. So you have to travel all the way from Brindisi to Valencia, do the work in physical verification, and get the results back in Brindisi. So it takes time. It takes travel time. It takes time because it's really time consuming. That we're talking about dozens, hundreds, thousands pieces of equipment. So conducting the physical verification, it's a long process. Then the third step, and we are talking here in a very high level process, we load those verification results, or the SD8, the physical verification planner, will load the verification results into Umoja, which is a spreadsheet, the template, and those will be migrated using a mass upload tool. This is not the tool that we will eventually show to you at the end of the session. This is the physical verification template, okay? Then the discrepancies there will have to be resolved, meaning that if we haven't found 40% of the equipment that should be there, we'll have to take a look at why it's happening. Or if 10% of the list of equipments that were or had to be physically verified for some reason do not belong to the BP that it's stated in the equipment master record, we have to see why. Or if we don't see any function location whatsoever in the equipment master record, we'll have to resolve those discrepancies. And those discrepancies will have to be resolved by the equipment local data maintainer under his or her responsibility. And this is important because that depends on his or her authorization group. Okay, we have equipments, for example, for CITS, and other pieces of equipment for transport section or MoveCon or engineering. So we will have different SD levels throughout the mission, taking a look and resolving the discrepancies found under the physical verification process. Then at the end, we have a series of BI reports that will are linked to KPIs, and we'll see how they look like, and they will give you a good perspective of, first, if you conducted the verification process for all the pieces of equipment subject to be physically verified, and the status at the end of those pieces of equipment, and most importantly, at the end of the day, it's if they are assets. If those pieces of equipment are assets and they do have an asset master record, there is only a single report that is focusing on those assets not being found. Very important, because if a piece of equipment which is passing the threshold and now they are fixed assets, and we do not find for any reason that piece of equipment in our mission, then we have a problem, right? We have to write it off, but we have to understand why it's not there. We're going to lose money, and our financial books will be impacted as well. So this BI analysis, it's important as well. Then I already went through this. We have basically two main roles under the physical verification process, which is the planner, equipment verification planner or physical verification planner, that is the SD8. He or she will create and maintain the physical verification plan, right? That strategy in place offline. Will generate the list of equipment, will print that list. You can print it or you can have it in your tablet. I see these guys coming from Brindisi to Valencia. They do have other tablets with all the equipment list subject to be physically verified when they come to the office. They conduct the inspection and they record the findings offline. They will track all those findings in the template, eventually in the Excel. They will review and upload those results in the template, and then we coordinate, and this is very important, they will coordinate. It's not an action that they will take in the system, but it's something that will make a difference at the end of the day. Whether communication and coordination is in place between the different offices and departments with respect to the discrepancies and processes that are going to be triggered. As you saw in the polling questions, we may have to update the equipment master record after the physical verification process. We may have to write off a piece of equipment or several pieces of equipment, or we may even have to transfer another piece of equipment as well. So important, although it's not in Umoja, this coordination and communication is really very important. Then this is from SD8, which it's already a big, let's say, chunk of work, I would say. Equipment data maintainer is the 11. will coordinate, again, with the offices and departments with respect to the discrepancies, but as well with the SD8. So these two, let's say, sentences in green from one role and the other are very important, that they do talk to each other after the PV process. And then based on those findings and communications and coordination, they will, SD11 will update the equipment master record based on the results of the physical verification process. Then I will not go through the whole presentation, don't worry, right? But it's important that we understand the roles and we understand the high-level process, right? Then we have here a series of, let's say, actions that the planner and with the data maintainer will do, but all these things will be done in the system and you'll see how it's done. You will receive these presentations, so don't worry. But basically the SD8 will extract this equipment list using it will extract the last discrepancy list as well, because you will see the list of the piece of equipment and then you will extract as well as the SD8 what was the last status of discrepancy, right? So you want to know whether first these pieces of equipment were physically verified, and if they were, which was the status of that physical verification process. So you will basically extract two lists, and those two lists will be dumped into the template, and we will see how it's done, right? Eventually, those equipment master records will be updated by the SD11. Okay. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to extract the equipment list of the equipment that we are going to go they're going to go through the PV process. And for doing that, we're going to use the T code IH08. Okay, so this is for the presentation. Then we do have some other slides, but I think it will be better to basically go back and forward as we go in the demo and we explain things, right? You see here where to find the template, where the job aids are, right? And some other steps that we'll have to take, right, in the template and the upload. But first, I'm going to leave it over here before I log in into the system. And as well, I'm going to use the body of the exercise that you will receive today on the physical verification. You see that it's a step-by-step process. In this case, we're going to use 520, this client. It's not 510, but 520. Okay, you see here in the screen. And then we'll go, as we did yesterday, in a step-by-step process, as we were one of you doing the exercise with the cover page as well, which is over here. And you'll see that, of course, in real life, you will be physically verifying not only 5 pieces of equipment, but hundreds of them, right? So the list will be really long. But in this case, because we have to break down all the equipment that we want to use in the exercise between our 45 people, 50, we're giving to each one of you 5 pieces of equipment with the serial number and the description, right? And you will physically verify, let's say, those pieces of equipment. So you will add a discrepancy to each one of those using the template. You will upload the results into the system, and then we will take action with equipment massive enrichment at the end of the day. Right, 2 roles involved: SD8, SD11. Basically, the main activities that we're going to use that are going to be carried out this morning are going to be done by the SD8, the equipment or physical verification planner, and there is no workflow in place. There is no approval in place, but there is a template in place, and as I said, sometimes it's not easy to really understand what to do when you're given a template. And honestly, sometimes you feel that these templates need to be updated. These templates need to be refurnished a little bit in terms of from the technical point of view in the macros, and then from the instructions point of view, and you'll see why. Because we have two fix a little bit the headers. You'll see why once we are using the template with information that we extract from the system. So here you see the different reports that you can use from BI and from ECC, and the different steps that we will take into the system with the T codes involved. So before I log on, or as I'm going to log into the system, I'm getting back to you. Any questions in the chat, Elena, or any comments? Over to you.
No, there's no questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Elena.
An oral question.
Okay, so as I said, I'm going to use the remote connection. So hopefully it will work. So I'm going to log in into my, let's say, own BDI in the base. How do you see the screen? Is it okay? Because if I want to navigate from, let's say, the body of the exercise to ECC, for me this is really handy. But I don't know how you guys see your screen and the view on your side.
It looks good enough.
Looks good enough.
Daniel, yeah. Maybe in the body of the exercise, it looks small. Maybe you can zoom in. But right now, all we see is the login screen for there. The body, maybe a little bit of a zoom in. Yeah, there's fine.
Perfect. Thank you. So let me see where I put my. Here we go. It's here. Settings receiver. It's over here. So it's difficult for me to navigate from one to the other. Sorry if I'm taking some time. So I'm going to log in into the training environment. SAP-GUI. The good thing about yesterday's session and today's session on content controlling and physical verification is just they are pretty straightforward in a way. They are we may call it like simple type of exercises because there are so many roles involved, because there is no like a real workflow involved there. But on the other hand, it's a very important process because this process will trigger actions into inventory from the counting and controlling process, and will trigger actions in the property management module, let's say in write-off, in addition to a stock down the road for physical verification. They are very important. So training environments, here we go. I'm going to use T1E. Okay, and as I said, this case for me and for yourself, this exercise it's done in 520. Okay, I'm going to use the last user and the password is Umoja. I think it's 1, 2, 3. This case. Okay, so I log in. Then I'm going to see, because as I said in the cover page, you have a set of 5 equipments to use in this exercise. So I'm going to go to my list of equipments. For my attendee, which is 50, I have these 5. Okay, so I want to make sure that I have these 5 available. Okay, so I'm copying these serial numbers. So imagine that this is the list of all the equipment subject to be physically verified. I'm only going to take 5 of them. Okay, and you will be given, as you see, 5 serial numbers, 5 equipment master records for you to go through the physical verification process. Okay, in real life, it will not be 5, it will be 500, I'd say. Oh, plenty of them. Okay, so let me open this up. In order to generate the first list of equipments subject to be physically verified, we have to go through IH08. This is a T code in order to display all the selection of my equipment. Okay. Initially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract all the equipments. In this case, is for MONUSCO, for the plant CD10, for maintenance plant CD10. So I'm going to first go to the equipment category. This is an important field. Why? Because the equipment category will tell me that if I select M, I will display all the equipment that it's UN owned and then is serialized. So M, it's the category of equipment that we have to use in the selection of the first selection of the equipment list for physical verification. That's important. Then you see that this is a huge T-cone in the way that it has plenty of fields and plenty of selections. We are going to avoid plant because this is not the field that we're going to use, but on the contrary, we're going to use maintenance plant. And we're going to use CD10, which is the plant that will, let's say, be responsible of all the pieces of equipment that I'm going to launch for MONUSCO, okay, CD10. And then eventually at the end, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that I have a layout over here. And this is really important. The layout coming by default is the / or /set_PV. This is the one that we need to use in order to launch the first list. So because there are some others, but we will not use some others. We will use the equipment physical verification report. You see, set_PV. So the layout is there. I think that the maintenance plant is filled in. It's going to be M. So I'm going to launch or execute this report. It's going to take some time because obviously in MONUSCO, we may have thousands of pieces of equipment. But instead of launching or going to the multiple selection and just identifying those five serial numbers, I prefer at least so you see, how list may look like in real life with plenty of records to analyze. So it's going to take some time. Okay, it was not so bad this time. So you see, I have a lot of them, a lot of records. You see here the bar on the right side. There are plenty of them. So this report, it's basically giving me the equipment master record, description of that equipment. If there is a functional location in its own equipment master record, it will be shown over here. Okay, this is the code for this particular piece of equipment where it's located in MONUSCO. In this case, the description of functional location is GOMA, RVA in PCIU office. User status, it's assigned. System status, installed. No information on the manufacturer serial number. We do have information on the technical identification number. Authorization group is T00. Cost center, business area. The material, which is the first ones are the same, which is a computer, I think, computer desktop over here, exactly. And it's not an asset. If this piece of equipment was an asset, the asset master record will appear here or should appear over here. Okay, storage location involved. In most of them, it's not present. So in the real world, in an ideal world, I may say, all these fields should be properly populated, I believe. So we have plenty of information for each of the equipment master records. So in our case, we're not going to go through this huge list. What we're going to do is to just select 5 pieces of equipment. So I'm going to select this column, which is the serial number that the system gives after the goods received to the equipment. So I'm going to filter, I'm going to the funnel. And remember, I copied initially, and you'll see that the dotted line, it's even moving and dynamic over here. So I copied, and when you copy in Excel, it goes to a clipboard. It's some sort of like an interim phase, as when we talk about storage locations and storage types, like an interim location where this data is before I paste it into another document, right? So it's now in a clipboard, let's say. I copied these 5 serial numbers. So remember, I click on the equipment, I click on the filter, and because I only want to select 5 of them, I click on multiple selection, and instead of typing one single or 5 different single values, I have here the option to, here you see, upload from clipboard. So if I click here, upload from clipboard, you see that the different lines are populated with the information from the Excel file, okay? So this is quite interesting, not only for 5, but if you're gonna use, and you probably are already acquainted with all these functionalities, but in case that you don't know, that's a way to work with ECC and Excel if you want to paste records in a T code. So once we paste it from the clipboard, we click on execute, and you'll see that we have here a green box. That means that the multiple selection is activated. So if I go to the green mark, instead of having here thousands of pieces of equipment, what I have here, it's 5, the 5 that I selected. All of them are telephones. They do have a functional location, good. Description, the equipments are assigned, installed, and they do have even a technical identification number, okay? So this is, let's say, the list of equipment that are subject to be physically verified, and I am, as SD8, the responsible for doing that, okay? If you guys don't speak up, or Elena or Brian do not interrupt me, I will go through, okay, the demo and with explanations. And now we're going to start not using the template, but extracting the information in Excel, which is another important aspect of this demo. So I have my 5 list of equipments, and I'm going to extract these 5 records into Excel. For doing that, I have several options, but the one that becomes handy in this particular demo is going to list the navigational menu on the top, list, spreadsheet. System gives you, okay, there is a number of key columns 1, it's okay. And then this is important. You can export into a pivot table, which actually comes by default, or into a table. It's better to use a table in this case. So I select table, clicking OK. It's going to be Microsoft Excel. Perfect. And now I have here my Excel with the 5 pieces of equipment and the extract over here. Okay, with same information that I can see in the screen. Same. Instead of working with the extract, it's very important that you save this file. So it's extracted, it's Excel, it's okay, but I'm going to save it in my own computer. And remember, we are going to, and even, excuse me, the information, I think underneath we can see this. You see here, save the data in the spreadsheet. Save the data in the spreadsheet. Even the system tells you to do so. Okay. So I'm going to save this in my own PC. Remember that we're working in the remote, let's see, VDI in Citrix. So we're telling, or the system, excuse me, asks us whether Citrix in Umoja in the servers are going to, let's say, have access to our own VDI. So we have here an warning message whether we want to permit the access or not. Yes, we want to permit access. And now I can see from my own VDI the different directories that I have in my own internal folder. Excuse me, VDI. I'm selecting O because I already created a small folder. Should be around here. Should be mission liquidation extracts. All right. And there I'm going to give it a name. Okay. First, I'm going to call Excel 1. Okay. That's important. And then this is the PV list, Daniel Criado. Okay. So this is my Excel 1, the first list. It's an Excel workbook. I save. Okay. So I can just close this part. It's already saved in my computer. So that's the first extract that we are doing. I'm sorry if I'm going slow, but there are plenty of extracts that we are doing, and with using the template, I think it's important to to go one step at a time. So I'm going to go back to the body. I went through the T code. Let's see, I08. I extracted. You see, I put equipment category M, maintenance plant CD10, layout set PV. All right. In this case, well, we have instead of 5, we have here 10 pieces of equipment. I export to Excel, and my first Excel file is saved. Let me just okay, discrepancy list, typo. Then the step 2 will be to extract the same list, but with the discrepancy, with the last discrepancy, in case that these pieces of equipment were subject to a physical verification process sometime in the past. So I will run again IH08. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to use the equipment selection of these 5. So I'm going to go to the multiple selection here. Going to make sure that I have my list of equipments over here. I'm going to copy it again. Remember, it's in the clipboard now. I'm selecting here clipboard, execute. In this case, I'm not, this multiple selection, you can use it in the T code or in a filter once the report is launched. In this case, the report is not there, but I can even use the multiple selection in the T code itself. Information. In the classification part, we will have here to select the class type, which will be the equipment class. Okay, this is important in order to have information on the last discrepancy list. Class, so class type will be 002. The class will be physical verification 002 set PV. I can double check in the body of my exercise. You see equipment category M, class set PV, class type 002. So this is the one I select. Equipment category M, it's okay. I leave it there. Maintenance plant CD10, and my layout, it's set PV. So I can launch this report. It's the same report. So I did something wrong here because I don't see. So there is something wrong here. But in order to, let's say, enhance the information that you see right now, you have to go to settings and show the classification that you selected initially in the classification part of the T code. If I click on show classification, you'll see I have now a large number of columns. If I scroll to my right, here I have information authorization group, cost center, material. If I scroll to my right, I even have information on the verification date, who verified, and the discrepancy type, if any. So what I can see is, because I click on settings, show classification, I have information on the last time that this material, these equipment master records went through a physical verification process. And I know that it was Brian, the one in charge, and in 17th of September 2018, he actually didn't find any discrepancy whatsoever. So, okay, that's a piece of information for me. So it's okay. I see that it's the same report, but I will have to go to settings and show height classification. And go back to the presentation because I want you guys to see that all this is thoroughly explained. So you go to I08, extract the list, go to show height, and you classification, and you have an extra number of columns that you will have to extract to Excel. Okay. Okay, so now that I'm showing the classification, I'm going to extract again this into Excel. So I go on again to a spreadsheet. Okay. Here it's a table automatically. It's 5 lines, 26 columns. Okay. It's going to be Excel. Okay, and this is the list of equipment, but with the extra columns, you see, with the discrepancy found last time and who verified and the verification date. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to File. We're going to save as my PC. I'm going to place it in the same directory that I did before, my mission liquidation extracts. Remember the first one is I called first list master, right? I think it's, oh no, it was this one, sorry. They modified, let me just put Excel1 PV list DC. Okay, in this case I'm going to name it Excel2. I'm sorry, because I'm working in the BDI, sometimes, you know, it takes a little bit of time. Wow. Yeah, this happens, don't worry. Because I'm working remotely in my BDI, so bear with me. Because the connection, let's say we're asking the connection to be stronger. So it's the PV list, but I'm going to put here discrepancy because it has the discrepancy results from the last time, list DC. So this Excel is okay. I'm going to save it and I'm going to close it. So I have two Excels coming from the same T code. The only difference between the first and the second is just I populated this classification type and I went through settings. I show the classification and I see here extra columns. That's the only difference between these two Excels. So I'm resuming with the exercise. This is the body of the exercise. You see you have all the explanations, show height classification, how to extract. And then what we're going to do is we're going to download the PV template. Okay, this is the link where you download the template in the system. So let me show it to you. Where is it located? It's in the job aids. In service delivery, in the Umoja job aid webpage, you have the physical verification upload template. You see the date, 11 September 2017. That's why I think that, and we already discussed with Kirill and the guys in New York, we have been experiencing several glitches and problems with this template. So I think it's worth to take a look from the, let's say, business point of view and refurnished a little bit. First, because sometimes when I click on the, when you click on the link, you don't even see information depending on your browser. Sometimes you don't even see this piece of information, so you don't even have access to the template. So if you click here on the link, then you will be able to use this copy of physical verification template. But nevertheless, what I did is I put it in my, I downloaded and I saved it in my own BDI. And let's see, equipment physical verification, or if not, I can use the one that I saved. So I'm going to open it, enable macros, and this is the template where we will have to input, the SD8 will have to input the results of the physical verification. Okay, so this, you have the first tab, it's the instructions. You have plenty of information on how to work with the template and with the different tabs. All right, you have information of the different authorization groups, the equipment statuses. You see, this is very, very interesting. So you have even information on the equipment statuses, whether from idle to disposal methods, the discrepancy types that you can use, and the T codes and explanations on what to use. All right. So first you see, and second tab is the PV template. The one comes by default. Business partner report that we are not going to use right now. Previous discrepancy results. Asset network value, and warehouse and storage bins as well. In our case, in this demo, we're going to use the second tab, PV template, and this tab on previous discrepancy results. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my let's see list that I saved before. So let me just navigate here through the different files. Remember that I did I extracted two Excels, 1 and 2. The second one is the discrepancy list, DC. Okay, so let me open the second one first with the last discrepancy list. And this is the template with the previous discrepancy results. All right. Okay, so this is what we have here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to copy even the header, and you'll know why. You'll see why. I'm copying from A to Z, from column A to Z, the different records that I extracted before. I'm gonna copy, and I'm going to. I think it's better if I use the because in the VDI exactly. So let me just use the template in the VDI and not the one here over here. So let me just close this one because it's better that I work in my VDI, as I said before. So let me just bear with me 2 seconds until I find it. Okay, must change. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use here Excel, and I'm going to go to job aids. I'm going to go to the same thing. I'm going to download the template in my own VDI because I know that in my own VDI it works. Okay. So, okay, this is the template. I'm going to enable content and I'm going to save. Do you want a trusted document? Yes. I'm going to save us in my own mission liquidation file. Stop. Mission liquidation. PV. Copy of physical. I will leave it there. Okay. So this is my template. I'm working in my own VDI. Perfect. And as I said, instructions with information of different system and user statuses, which are the T codes and the instructions on how to fill in the template. So I'm going to go to previous discrepancy results. Remember that I copied even the header, and I'm going to paste it over here because I want to make sure that what I'm copying here in terms of header matches the header in the template. And you'll see that even the first column does not match. Okay, so let me just get rid of these cells. Okay, clear contents. And then I see that the equipment should be right here. Description is like one of the columns, it's like moved to the right. So let me just take the whole thing and just move it to the left. Here we go. So equipment matches, description matches, functional location matches, description, user status, system status, technical identifier, authorization group. This is very important that you make sure that everything matches from the extract and the template. Course center, business area, material, description, asset, storage location. And then we have another problem. In the template, we have a storage location, but I extracted here a verification date. So we have here a problem because the verification date is over here. So I will again select all that information and I will move it here. So verification date, who verified, in this case Brian, the discrepancy type, no discrepancy. Now everything matches up until to the end. So now I was making sure that whatever I extracted matches every single column in my template. I can now get rid of this row. So remember, I copied the previous discrepancy results into the tab previous discrepancy results of my 5 pieces of equipment. Okay, now I'm going to go to the PV template, and then I'm going to copy the other list of results that I downloaded before. You see, the Excel. Well, in this case, I copied first the Excel number 2, but you have to copy the Excel number 2 in the previous discrepancy results. You see, important, some of the columns may not match. Please ensure that the data in each column matches exactly the column in the template. Very important, okay? This case is not 10, it's 5 pieces of equipment, okay? So now I'm going to copy the Excel file 1 that I saved into the tab PV template. So I'm gonna go back to Excel number 1 with the initial list. Okay, and here I'm gonna go to the same. I'm gonna make sure that whatever I copy in the header matches exactly my report. Okay, I copy in here. Here we go. And please make sure that you go all the way to the left here. And just a piece of information, if you scroll down, you'll see that the header are frozen. So only the columns where you copy the records are going down, right? So please make sure that you copy the first record in this case, the row number 12. So let me just paste it. And okay, initially I see the maintenance plant is the same, equipment is the same, description as well, function location. Okay, so good, functional description, user status system, manufacturer serial number, technical identifier, authorization group, cost center, business area, material, description, if there is an asset. Here we have a problem, right? It's a model number, storage location. But the good thing is just I don't have storage locations over here, so not a problem. Storage location, possible bin, verification date. Here we'll go to this afterwards, don't worry. And the rest of the columns are not copied because I only copied up until the storage location. Okay, so everything seems to match, so it's okay. I delete and I have the same pieces of equipment in another tab. But here I have 2 columns in yellow with the verification date and discrepancy type. Where these columns are coming from the previous discrepancy results, because the system, the template, retrieves this verification date and this discrepancy type in the first tab over here. Okay, so I have information. Once I go through the different function locations and I go and check all these pieces of equipment, I know when it was physically verified, what was the discrepancy, and then I will be able now in my template to key in the information updated on whether there is a change of user, change in location, change in status, and so on and so forth. Okay. So let me go back because I haven't heard from you from a while. I don't know, Brian, Elena, is everything okay? Because I see it's 11:03 and we may want to go for a break. Over to you.
Actually, there's a question from Pietro. And I think he's asking if there's a limitation of the number of lines to be uploaded, right, Pietro?
Yes, correct.
Thank
you.
I think we asked this question to Sega, Brian. I think you delivered this session a while ago. We did ask these questions, and apparently there is no limitation. But on the other hand, there is a limitation in case that if you only put one record, for example, I put in only one piece of equipment, uh, sometimes there is a glitch and the template doesn't work. But to the best of my knowledge, Pietro, there is no like a maximum number of records to be uploaded.
Hello. Yeah, I don't see. Still, the chat is quite limited for me. So the last comment I see is from Josefa at 10:30. But it's true, we're almost there up to the hour. And in terms of what you're saying, if you scroll down a bit in this Excel, like what you're saying is correct, but you just need to make sure that everything falls into the section. I think there's a limitation in terms of the lines. So if you just add or paste lines below this section without really dragging the what do you call it, the frame, I think that if you I don't know, expand the Excel, you should see the sort of a frame that you have to drag and make sure everything you paste is within that frame. You see the line right below the last line, line 16. I think that's something you have to drag down. I think you can see it all the way to the right. If you don't see it there, there has to be, see right there. There you go.
Brian,
Comments.
Yeah, sorry if I interrupt. In any case, this, I mean, let's say template is editable, right? It's not, let's say, closed or, I mean, blocked in such way.
No,
Thank
exactly.
You. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah,
Thank
as
you.
long as you paste that frame, you see there that you can just drag that down, and you can edit. Yeah, you don't need to. It's not defaulted to the file.
So before we go for a break, just to do a little bit of recap, what I did is basically I launched IEH08 two times, once with the information of the equipment that are going to go through the physical verification process. Then I extracted and I copied and pasted in my template. Secondly, I relaunch again this empty code with a little bit of difference with this equipment class. So I had information on the last time these pieces of equipment were physically verified. I copied in another tab. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this template in my, let's say, physical, in my folder. So I can DC here, save it. So I'm, before, when we resume this session, we will be able to, let's say, continue with the same template afterwards, okay? So that's, we can just go for a small break of 5 minutes. Is it okay?
There was a question from Joe, but we can address it after the break.
Or we can do it now, don't worry. So we
can... I think he's pointing out that the Excel doesn't flag as adding the business partner as mandatory.
Exactly.
He's asking, I see the business partner is not added from the beginning.
No, it's not.
So it's not mandatory, and yeah.
No, as long as you put, thank you, Elena. As long as you put the initial extract and the second extract with the last discrepancy results, you will be able to upload results into the system. Then in terms of BP, the business partner report, you can do that, okay? But that's another, let's say, demo, another way to do the part of physical verification. We're basically going through the tab number 2 or tab number 3 with the discrepancy results, but eventually you can download a BP report and upload all that information into the system using the empty code. But for this demo, we're not doing that. In any case, that it's thoroughly explained in the job aid, in the physical verification job aid that you can find in the Umoja job aid webpage. So let me just start, so I make sure that I do not take more time, and I'll see you in 4 or 5 minutes. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Daniel.
Okay. Hello, welcome back again. Well, these 5 minutes go so fast, always. Um, Hello, everyone again. I hope you hear me. I just found out that in the body of the exercise there was a typo. Instead of IH08, the T code written was IE08, and that's a T code, but not the one that we want to use. So it's IH08 equipment selection. So sorry for that. It's okay if I resume. All you guys are over there.
Fine here, Daniel.
Okay.
We hear you well. We see it well. Everything's
Perfect.
okay.
Thank you. So, okay, I'm gonna just, we left it here. So we included the two extracts in our template. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. No, I don't want the description, and I will have to log in again, I think, into the system. So I'm gonna use, let me see. Okay, this one. Okay. So I'm logging into the system again. Subkey. And what I did is I saved my, but not here. Sorry again. That was my own mistake. You see, I really have to be very careful over here. So I have to log in my own VDI. And it's just because the Excel somehow, I was testing the exercise several times, and in my own VDI it worked. Outside my own VDI, if I was working, for my regular computer, accessing Citrix from home, somehow I encountered problems, and I don't know why. So subkey. So that's actually brings me to the fact that it will be important that you use your VDI as well for this exercise. Try without using your VDI, downloading the template and everything. But if you do it from your VDI, it worked. As I told you, I don't know why still we have that problem. But so it's T1E 520 in this case. There was my user 123, Umoja 123, and then we'll see what the exercise tells us to do. So what we did in the template, go to the second tab, PV template. I put there all the information. Excuse me, in the previous discrepancy results, I put the information, and then in the PV template, the other information. So that's there. Now, in the template, we're going to go to the second tab, PV template, identify and fill the following fields. Mandatory in orange. Verification date, verified by, and discrepancy type. So basically, now the SD8, it's going to input in the template. It's going to input in the template, if I find it over here. In the PV template, in this second tab, if I scroll to my right, information, real information on the physical verification process. So since the time that we created this template, let's say, and fill in this information, up until I fill in this information may take a month, maybe, because it may take several weeks for me to go from one place to another place, from one office to another office, even traveling time involved from Valencia to Brindisi, or even in UNAMID from Yala to El Fasher, Khartoum. So it will take time. And then when I have all my records on the physical verification results, then I will be able to transport all that information into my own template. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, and let me just put it a bit bigger so you can see. For each of the pieces of equipment with the equipment master record, I'm going to first include a verification date. And you see it's mandatory. So verification date has to have as well this format. It's for the day, 2 digits, 04, the month, and 4 digits for the year. Okay, so this case, I'm going to use the same verification date, but imagine that here instead of 5, I have 175 records. Each record was physically verified in different days. I will have here to put different days, right? So in my case, I'm going to copy and paste the same dates. Let me see if that works. All right. And then who verified it? This case is going to be myself. All the way. But of course, you can have here different names, right? Because I can physically verify the first 175 records, and then Brian can physically verify another 200 records. And then Sol and Elena can add another 300 records to this template, okay? But in this case, it's only 5, same date, and myself. And here, this is what is really important. The whole session actually comes down to basically this time, where we are going to input a discrepancy type. Remember that if we scroll to our left, we have information coming from from the previous discrepancy exercise back in September 2018, done by Brian, with no discrepancy found whatsoever. But in this case, just for the sake of the exercise and the scenario that we are proposing, we're going to input different discrepancy types to each of these equipments. So first, we're going, instead of no discrepancy found, we're going to select, there is a drop-down button over here, not found yet. So the first telephone is not found. For the second one, I'm going to put user location status. So 02 means that there is a change in the user responsible for this piece of equipment, 109.92.171, or there is a problem in its location, or there is a problem in the status of this equipment. So you have, it's optional, but you have to fill in information of in one of the first columns on your rate: change in user, change in location, change in status. Okay. For example, and this is free text, it's optional, as you can see over here. So I can put here that now it I can see belongs to David, for example, right? This is just extra information that I'm inputting for the equipment master local data maintainer when they do the enrichment to see and do the inspection and investigation accordingly, right? So there's a change in user for the second piece of equipment. For the third, I'm going to select the serial number, the manufacturer serial number, the barcode, or the authorization group. So I'm going to skip the first 3, and I'm going to focus on the last 3. You see, change in manufacturer serial number, change in barcode, or change in authorization group. So let me go. In this case, I'm going to, let's say, change in manufacturer serial number here. Now, this manufacturer serial number, it's this one, because I checked, and the one that is present in a tag within this telephone, it's this one, Manuf 1234765. Okay, but you can only input one change, right? Because it's either a change in the manufacturer serial number or the barcode or the authorization group. If you do have more than one change or one more than one type of discrepancy, I will have to select a multiple master data, which is 04. And there I will be able to input, for example, there is a change in location now belongs to MoveCom, for example, I can put there, or I can put here a particular location that I know from the system point of view, right? And I can input here a change in barcode, and the barcode now it's this one. So I'm inputting as a discrepancy type 04, and there are multiple discrepancy types. One, it's a change in location, and another change in barcode. Okay, I can even actually put here comments, right? I'm going to put here test, 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 test. And then the last one will be the same. I will use the same 04 multiple master data discrepancies. And in this case, I'm going to change the status. This is very important because now we're going to change the status, user status, not the system status, right? And you have several options. All the different options are available there for you. And for example, we found out that this equipment is under maintenance, right? This telephone is undergoing a maintenance process. And on top of that, there is a change in the authorization group. We can put there is we can put T01. Excuse me, T01 is the new authorization group there. So just to recap, basically you went through a physical verification process of these 5 telephones, each one with a different equipment master record. Today, I did the physical verification exercise, and I input several discrepancies for each of these equipment master records. The first one was not found, so I'm not putting anything. Well, I can put here in comment, not found. The rest they do have different discrepancies. The first one related to an user, and I input in an information optional. Third one, change in manufacturer serial number, and the fourth and the fifth one have multiple master data discrepancies, one in location and the status, and the other in the serial number, excuse me, in the manufacturer serial number and the barcode. All right, so remember at the end of the day, the important tab is the PV template here, because here is where you're going to have first information on the equipment and the equipment master records, what it's in the system. Secondly, you're going to have information of the previous results of the physical verification process, okay? And third, and most importantly, you will be able to input your results as a SD8 in terms of discrepancies found in each of these pieces of equipment. So that's why if I go to the presentation, you see here how we explain a little bit the different fields here and how you can input the different characteristics based on the discrepancy that you select. Okay. Here, change in user, change in location. So everything is thoroughly explained. How you can even input the information in the template, right? Of course, if you put here something that it's a change in the user location status, you will be able to, as an optional field, put information on change in user, change in location, or change in status, but the other columns will be blocked. And the same will be applicable for the 03. And the good thing is just if you have a multiple master data discrepancies, all the fields will be optional and you will be able to input information over there. Okay. So that's how it looks. Let me go back to my body of exercise. I have the feeling that they're going very slow, but I hope you are understanding and everything is okay. If we have to resume after the lunch with the demo, we do it. But as you guys did not complain so far, I'm just you know, that it's good to go with the same pace. All right. So then I inputted my discrepancy type, and you see here this note is important. You will notice that the header of the template, count of records, has been automatically updated with the results of the current PV process. Let's see what that means. It's this table. So as I was inputting information over here on discrepancies, right, on these, let's say, orange fields, the system is retrieving information on, okay, so one piece of equipment has not been found, another has a 0.2 type of discrepancy, another a 0.3, and two pieces of equipment have multiple master data discrepancies. Okay, in total, 5 pieces of equipment. Okay, so then I have to click on the button, generate a physical verification load file. It's this button over here. This is basically, at the end of the day, the macro embedded within this template that will generate a TXT file that will eventually upload in the system with these results of the physical verification process. Remember that we are, just to make sure that everyone follows, we generated a list of physical verification, we conducted the physical verification, and now we are loading the verification results into the system. Okay, we're loading, we are in the step number 3. All right, so let me click, let me cross my fingers as well, because as I told you, sometimes you know, working with templates in Umoja, it's a minefield, as I told you. Mission liquidation PV, so automatically generates a text file. Let me put here with the date, 28th of April 2020. Put here this one, so I can, and I save it. Perfect. The template has been successfully saved as a text file. All right, so let me go back to my files and see whether it's there. You see physical verification 28 April 2020 DC TRNG. So it's a text file, so we're good to go. It's over there. Let me go back to the Excel, and then what we're going to do now is we're going to execute the upload of these results into the system. Okay, so for doing that, I'm going to use this T code, set PM underscore AQ underscore char, copy, and I'm going to use that T code, copy there, cell, and I'm going to execute in foreground, select the file that I just created, my text file, and click on test run. Test run, it's like the typical check that we do in Migo. So we check initially before we post. So we make sure that everything is okay before we do the real posting. So here it's pretty much the same. So we first check that everything is okay, and then we uncheck the test run, and then just we upload the information. So we click on test run, we execute in foreground, and we look for our file. Okay, so it was, I permit the access again to my own VDI. It was a no. Where was it? I'm not sure. Where was it? Let me see. Here it's in mission liquidation. It's my, actually it's in my desktop. Okay, good thing. So let me actually go back and so first let me just, instead of my desktop, let me just put it not in the extracts, because I usually, so this one, let me copy, and I'm going to paste it in my O file instead of my desktop. So where is my O file? Over here. I have my mission liquidation extracts. Important, guys, to be really I don't know, organized with your files within your own VDI when you're extracting information from the system. not like me. And then here I'm gonna paste it. So it's over there. Okay, good. So now I will put it in no. And something just before even uploading, something I forgot. It's really, and that's something that I remember Leandro told me once. It's good. It's a good thing always to open the text file, because sometimes these text files are generated and you are taking for granted that everything is okay. But as I told you, this is a minefield. Sometimes you get hurt without even noticing. So I double click on the text file and I see that more or less, let's say, I see some equipment master records more or less, within the same column with the authorization group. Okay, with some information related to the discrepancy types. So I don't see any weird symbol like down there, for example. So, okay, more or less it looks okay, but it's always, good to take a look at the text file. Okay, so let me just go back, select. Sorry if I'm taking time, but I think it's important that we all work properly with the extracts, mission location extracts. So I think it's this one, the physical verification today. It was 28th DC training, test run, and I click on execute. Okay, I have information that the test run was successful. So if I uncheck this test run, I may expect that everything is okay. And if I were you, I would cross my fingers as well, because sometimes, even though the test run is successful, sometimes you encounter some issues. So I execute, and okay, so we were lucky. So those 5 pieces of equipment with equipment master record were changed successfully. Okay, changed successfully means that the information from this physical verification exercise has been duly stored in the system. And how do we see this? By going to the, let me open a new session, the same T code that we did before, IH08, the list of equipment with the same 5 pieces of equipment. So let me go back, copy those pieces of equipment, multiple selection, copy from the clipboard, execute. All right. Class type, I'm going to select 002, set PV. Okay. So C maintenance plant. You'll see there are plenty of fields here to be used. CD10, so it's MONUSCO. Okay. It says set PV. I think I didn't put equipment category, probably. It's always so tiny that you really miss it. Equipment category over here. M, UN owned serialized equipment. So I'm good to go. I click on execute, and I don't see initially a huge difference, right? Do I? Who is able to spot one difference from the class? Over to you in the screen. You get a point.
First one.
Where?
Equipment not found.
Okay.
User status.
Exactly. Thank you very much. So remember what I did? It's if I go back to my template, and I'm just getting crazy from going from the video to the other part. You see, not found yet. This piece of equipment, I didn't find it. Even though that Brian told me, at some point that it was there, now it's not found. And because I uploaded and, everything succeeded the upload, the system believes or retrieves this information and changes automatically the user status of the equipment master record. So if I go to this equipment master record and I double click, you see this is the shell, the data shell, status installed, but instead of I think it was assigned, not found. So the system understands that it has to change the user status automatically because of the template that I have just uploaded into the system. Okay, the rest is the same because I didn't change any other, let's say, field in the equipment master record, right? So thank you. I didn't spot who was there, but you get a point.
Daniel, sorry,
Yes.
I have a question here. And correct me if I'm wrong, but by changing the status to not found, I mean, it's not too early to identify the assets as not found before going through the write-off and the approval for write-off, and eventually with a security report that says and confirms that the assets is really not found. That might be, as you clicked from the template, not found yet.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you are
please.
so right, Gianluca. You are so right. I thought the same thing, came across my head when I first encountered this. I don't see a reason why the system automatically changes the user status without double checking that this piece of information is accurate. As you said, it's not found yet, but that doesn't mean that I did properly my job. It's like when you recount a warehouse and someone else recounts and says, Daniel, you did an awful work because we did a recount and we found all these different items. So now we're taking for granted that my first physical verification, let's say, exercise as a SD8 was perfectly done, and I didn't find this piece of equipment. And the system says, you know what? I totally trust you, and I changed the user status. So I totally agree with you. So that's why I wanted you to first spot this change and then discuss this. So you actually took that comment out of my mouth. I was going to actually mention this. So thank you very much, Luca. I totally agree. And if I wouldn't do that. I mean, I think that in order to change this, I think, piece of information from the equipment master record, we need to really double check that this is indeed true, right?
Daniel, can I add to that, please, from our experience in Minijust?
Sure.
When the property management people done some PVs in Minijust, they marked 800 assets plus as not found. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But in fact, in reality, I mean, if you're looking for assets that are in use by staff, maybe the staff is not around. Maybe he left the radio at home. Maybe he's using the laptop at home. Maybe he's on leave. So they made a bit of a mess in Minijust when it came to those 800 plus assets not found. Because as Gianluca would agree, I'm sure you're supposed to do follow-ups. If you walk into an office, if a piece of equipment is not there, maybe somebody, like a laptop, maybe they've just moved it to go into the cafeteria or somewhere else. Who knows? So there's many issues with before you would put in there and not found.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. And let me add. I mean, in Galileo, we had the ideal scenario where you would flag the asset as not found yet, and then after verifying that the assets was lost or stolen or whatever the case may be, the status would be changed into missing. So we had two different sub-status, not found and missing, where I can see here only not found. But not only that, it's in my opinion, this compromises the accuracy of the inventory when it comes to retrieving data, because if I run a report and I see X numbers of assets not found, I don't know, or I have to dig in to figure out which are the ones confirmed not found and those that are actually at the beginning of the inspection as not found. So this is the accuracy of the report is really at this stage compromised, in my opinion.
Compromised. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And sorry to interrupt, Gianluca, but it's as easy as this is a drop down. It's as easy, and I want to just put user location status, and I put here not found yet without even noticing, right? Or even if I just go down there and without even noticing, I just scroll and I copy without even realizing that this discrepancy type, and then I upload into the system, and boom, all of the sudden, then I have a change in user status, and I don't even know why. So yes, I think it's a very, very good point, the one that you brought up. Over to you.
Joe, we may need to address this to New York to find an alternative step for the not confirmed, not found assets, if you follow me.
Yeah, I agree. This is part of the exercise we will do ourselves later on in a few weeks' time when we sit down and talk about the various issues from miniatures liquidation, which for everybody to understand was the first mission to liquidate in Umoja. So we have a lot to discuss, in particular those issues.
And if I may add to that, how whoever is governing overseeing the template itself, I think that we should really have a clear guidance on how to use it, and the thing with the headers as well. Now is the training environment, and we don't have the proper layout. But let me tell you, I mean, it's a shame that you have to really double check that the header matches the layout, and because otherwise the template will not function whatsoever. So I think that those are minor things that can be easily fixed, and but they do have a really awful consequences down the road, right? Especially when we are talking about 2-3 months type of work, very intense, very time consuming, with a lot of expectations, and all of a sudden, these tools are not really playing a role in our support in a way. So you can imagine, not only for 5, but spotting all these things in 150 or 500 or 600 pieces of equipment is more difficult. So I think it's worth to having a discussion with these guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Daniel. There's a lot of sound there in the back.
Hello. Now you hear me?
I think every time you unmute, there's some sort of like popping sound in the back. We were able to follow. It was just getting worse as you were going on.
What about now? It's better?
Still bad.
Yes. Here we go. Now it's better. Oh, yeah, sorry. So let me turn my Wi-Fi on. Okay, see, is it better now?
I don't know if it's a mic thing, but no, it's every time you unmute yourself or speak that we hear it.
Yeah, same now? Yes. So let me take, is it all right?
No. Now it's actually almost, we can't even understand what you're saying.
Now, is it better?
Yes, there you go. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Is it better? I'm just talking to the computer. I just removed my headphones.
It's the clearest it has been right now.
Okay, so can I resume?
Oh yeah, now it's perfect.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Thank you for confirming.
Without microphone, apparently, Daniel.
Excuse me, Elena. Sorry.
The sound is better without microphone.
Ah, okay, perfect. Thank you. So I will bother the neighbors then. So no, it's okay. Just a joke. So I think it was a very interesting discussion, that one, and I'm glad that you spotted first the difference, and we all understand, the consequences down the road if these things changes without even us realizing, right? So,
and also, Daniel, if I can just jump in, right? I always like to pretend that I have no idea, right, about what you're explaining. So I'm gonna pretend I'm one of the new students here that is just learning about T codes and so on. So I understand that what you did yesterday, right, counting and controlling, is the process that happens before physical verification. So when I'm counting and controlling and I'm checking inventory, I'm making sure I'm clearing differences. And then what do I do? The next day or after a while, I come into physical verification. And what I do is update the status of the equipment. So when I'm updating the status, right, let's say a physical verification comes after counting and controlling, that means that I already know what's not found and what is missing, right? So why is it a bad thing that I just update the user status and say not found if I already went through the counting and controlling, the proper approvals, and it's been double checked and all? Why would it still be not good for me to say equipment not found and update it in the equipment status?
thank you. You threw me under the bus over here. So thank you.
Sorry.
No, no, no. It's
And if not for you, for someone else that
no,
is
no,
listening
I'm
to. Mhm.
just kidding. It's I think it's a totally legitimate question. But if I may say, regardless what you guys may complement but to the answer, but though we're talking about two different processes impacting two different, let's say, modules in the system. Okay, counting and controlling will verify that whatever you have in terms of inventory, right, it matches reality in the system. Okay, as we saw yesterday, and in case that it doesn't, then we will have to post some differences in warehouse and then in the inventory, and eventually our books, our financial books, will be affected. Okay, that we saw that yesterday. Today in physical verification, okay, that's and it takes, as Nico said, there is a cycle there, and there are some guidelines and KPIs that we have to be compliant with New York. Then, on the contrary, in physical verification, that's another, let's say, it's another cycle in terms of activity. I'm not saying that it's going after or before. Honestly, I don't know exactly how complement each other, the physical verification and counting and controlling, but physical verification will not affect initially the inventory, but it will trigger property management actions and processes like write-off, like changes in the equipment master record, like disposal, like adding to a stock, like removing from the stock. Eventually, this process of physically verifying the equipment outside, let's say, within our mission, let's say, will trigger down the road some other process that eventually, yes, will have an impact in our inventory. So indeed, they are similar. Indeed, they do follow a cycle in terms of property management, but they are not affecting in the same way our inventory.
Okay. Can I jump in there just for a second on that one? Yeah. Brian, and people from property management in particular, do you need to update this information immediately, or do we do a follow-on? You know, we're talking about KPIs here. So do we do a follow-on and then update? You know, because I mean, updating the system and then, you know, then doing the follow-on, then update the system again, and you know, you can go back and forward. I mean, there must be a time span and most KPIs for this, to a point where a final decision is made, as Gianluca said, whether it be a write-off process to verify that has not been found, or security reports as such.
Yep. Okay.
Sorry, I don't know if someone's speaking right now. Joseph, that was the last part of your question?
Yeah, I didn't. I think you didn't hear the whole question, Brian, probably.
Okay, I'll repeat it. In relation to updating the system, how soon after the physical verification do you update the system? For example, the asset that you noted in the system as not found. Mm-hmm. That's the question. Would we not wait a while to follow up on the discrepancy first before we update the system? And then if we're sure that the item is not found, then we can update the system.
Exactly. I think that related to Gianluca, if I may, Brian, to Gianluca's point and your point, I think that we will really have to double check and do a proper investigation, especially if there is no finding, or we didn't find whatsoever this piece of equipment, especially if it is an asset, before we take actions into the system from the SD11 point of view, like the equipment master record user. But in some other cases, when it's minor changes, or those changes do not have important implications from the property management point of view, then I think that those changes may or have to be actioned right away, the physical verification process, right, in the proper authorization group by the SD11. But if we didn't find, if there is a financial implication after the physical verification process, then I think that we have to double check before even going to the equipment master record and take action. That's my point on that. Over to you, Brian, or anyone else.
Well, yeah, Lucia?
Sí. If may I, Joe, to reply to your question. In reality, there are some steps to follow. When the property management realize that there is, for example, an equipment that is not found, in general, they contact the technical unit. For example, if there is a computer, they have to contact the ICT group. So they start with notification and control. So the security report, they contact the security and then ask for a security report when they are sure that this, for example, computer is not found. So they start with the external work before updating the equipment with not found. Before doing that, they can put for right of action. When we are sure and the security report is uploaded in the notification, we can put, and then the process in properties started, we can put the equipment as not found and then proceed with the rest of the operation inside the Umoja. I'm just take one example, but it can be for the other rate of action, other disposal method. So there is in reality a step already, a process already implemented. I don't know if I'm unclear.
Lucia, sorry. Thanks for that. However, I think, and everybody acknowledge that before reaching that stage, it may take months. Okay, really months. And
Yeah,
so I'll give an
another,
example. If you
this is another story. Yeah,
so
of course. Yeah.
I'll give an example. If you go to a region and you run an inspection and there is a rotation of troops or there is somebody in R&R, you may find that back in 2-3 months time. Or if you don't find until you process it and security takes actions, it takes some time. My concern is during this time, what status should be reflecting that record? Not found, or with the previous status, which is, I would say, inaccurate, because if you didn't find, the asset is not installed, is not assigned, is nowhere. See?
Yeah, see. I perfectly understand what you mean, and I agree because we have examples of this, so we can say that. Yeah, the first step when you open the notification is under write-off. That doesn't mean that you cannot put not found if there isn't a security report because you don't know at that stage. So as you said, this takes time. There is okay, for the idea is to implement KPIs for each of these levels of operation. In reality, HQ already sent this quarterly report, maybe even more than quarterly. I don't want to say something that I'm not sure. I don't remember now. Maybe monthly, and they are capturing the time frame between one operation to the other one. For example, how long you take an equipment in a write-off process without working. So there is there are some measurement to monitor this from New York. But at the end, you are right. For me, should be some internal KPIs to expedite this process. Because it happens. We wait a lot to complete the write-off process. This is absolutely the reality. It's the truth. Yeah.
And
but
unfortunately,
at the end, there is a process to monitor. Maybe it's not monitored well, but there is.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I don't know exactly I mean, I don't know the current KPI, how is let's say how he instructs or describes, but with experience with KPIs is that they tend the user to update something just to get rid of the KPI. Either it's a green flag or red flag. So you might take the user to a wrong path just to get rid of the KPI. So in other words, instead of doing your job, which is a physical inspection and update inventory in a proper manner, you tick the box just to get rid of the KPI. If you follow, so that's scary.
I absolutely agree.
Thank you, Lucia. Lucia, this is the reality. Okay, This is the reality when it comes to liquidation, that people just tick the box just to finish the job. And the KPI issue in relation to write-off, I think it's 2 or 3 months or something to complete the process. We spoke about this already to Carol, if you remember. I said we would bring these issues up at the end of this exercise when we all sit down, including with yourself and others, to talk about issues about related to KPIs. I mean, KPIs in normal mission trotting along is okay, but when it comes to liquidation, it's completely different. And by the way, we don't always stick to the KPIs, and we can't clarify that because it's impossible to stick with KPIs during the liquidation period for many, many reasons. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Joe, Lucia, and Gianluca. I don't know, Brian, do you want to, before we close, I'd like to show one, this is the last step of the demo, so we make sure that we understand before we go to lunch. Thank you for your input, guys, on that. And as I think Elena put it in the chat, I think that's something that we may want to double check with Kirill. If he and his team are present in today's session, I don't know if Lara can double check that part, but it will be good to share all those insights with them. I think it's important before we all, go through this process of mission liquidation, because at the end of the day, if you have dashboards and KPIs in place, it's for not forcing you to click on that, tick, and to, have a parallel reality besides the raw reality that you feel we face in the missions. And the raw reality will be faced by all you when you are deployed, not what the KPI is saying. So thank you for that. I just want to get back to the user status change that you guys correctly spotted. What I'm going to do, remember that I launched IH08. I will do it again in case that someone is lost. I did select the same set of equipments, class type 02, set PV, equipment category M, and my maintenance plant, it's MONUSCO. Then the user status was changed because I did change that in my template, remember, and it's not here. It should be around here, remember, over here. Then if I go to settings and I show the classification as we did before with the second extract, you see that whatever I put in the template, besides this change in the user status, it's reflected, which means that the verification date, it's duly imported. The who verified, it's duly imported as well. And the discrepancy type as well, it's reflected and updated in this report. If I scroll to my right, I even have the free text inputs that I did change in my template with the comments at the end. Remember, if I just go to the template, these are the comments and the discrepancy types that I put. Well, here I changed because when we were discussing with Gianluca, but all these changes have been reflected in the report. Okay. So that's per the demo on the physical verification. Then after the lunch, and I will give you the floor, Brian, for further instructions, but the idea is to do the equipment mass change using another template and another process in order to reflect all these changes as well in the equipment master record in another way. So just for you that the physical verification process is finished from the demo point of view, but then in the afternoon session, the idea is to show to you the template that will give you access to change massively, not only 5, but thousands, let's say, or hundreds of equipment master records in just one shot, instead of going one by one, right? So, and then we will review the pooling questions in the second chance as well. So, over to you, Elena, and for the chat, and Brian.
Thank you, Danny. The chat now is updated. There is no pending comments.
Okay, thank you, Elena.
All right. Thanks, Elena, and thanks, Daniel. I hope I really liked the discussion. I hope it was clear. And nonetheless, when we come back in the afternoon session, we'll do like a brief overview of what we've seen. I hope the difference between counting and controlling what was done yesterday and today physical verification is clear as well. That's something I really want to reach out for those that are new to the system. That needs to be clear, right? The difference between the two processes and what they affect in the system, because it can seem like we're just doing the same thing as yesterday, right? As sort of a continuation of what we did yesterday. So we need to understand that difference. And thanks for the business discussions again, Gianluca, Joseph, and Lucia. At this point, I think we're okay. Maybe we want to share the survey of the morning session now, and we can continue then in the afternoon at 2 with the next part of the exercise, which is also something worth paying attention to. Also, we need to use templates, and we need to be careful not only where we save them, but the data that we're adding to them.
Exactly. So yes, let me just share the evaluation survey for this one, the morning session. So let me share in the chat. I hope you guys will see it. Okay, I see it there, right there. And so thank you. We'll see you at 2 o'clock, and it will be great to see whether New York will be present at 4:30 as well to maybe further discuss on these items and some others. So yeah, have a good lunch, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel and Elena. Thank you, everyone. See you later.